In the year 1893, a tragic and shocking event cast a dark shadow over the city of Manchester, England. Lavinia Farrar, a blind and elderly woman, was discovered with a corn knife ominously embedded in her heart within the confines of her own home. The perplexing part? The knife had not cut or torn the clothes covering her body. More than a century has passed since that fateful day, yet this haunting and enigmatic case remains unsolved. Lavinia Farrar, 72 years of age, had been in her Manchester home for a mere 3 weeks. A woman of considerable wealth and wavering independence, she rarely employed servants, a fact often attributed to her peculiar disposition. Her aversion to the hustle and bustle of everyday life led her to favor solitude over social interaction. So one fateful day, after receiving no response to his repeated visits, a sense of unease enveloped her relative by marriage, Mr. W.S. Jones. Accustomed to her eccentric habits, the silence felt different this time, heavy and foreboding, as though heralding that something was grievously amiss. The stillness of her home, once a sanctuary of individuality, now sent ripples of worry through his mind. Consumed by mounting concern for Lavinia's welfare, Mr. Jones resolved to take action. He summoned Dr. Yates, her trusted physician. Together, they decided to enter the house by any means necessary. What they unearthed ignited a cascade of questions, lingering in the shadows of mystery, leaving many both intrigued and confounded. Lavinia lay sprawled upon the kitchen floor, her clothing disheveled and torn. Her face bore bruises, and her nose was broken. At her feet rested an open corn knife, tainted with her blood. Yet in the shadow of these harrowing details, an eerie stillness prevailed. There were no signs of a struggle. Her home stood pristine, devoid of any hint of malevolence, save for 8 small droplets of blood upon the door. Yet the absence of a significant blood trail elsewhere whispered of eerie mysteries. How did these enigmatic drops find their way there? The scene conjured more questions than it provided answers. The droplets seemed almost ceremonial, each placed with deliberate intention. It seemed unfathomable that Lavinia could have inflicted the injury upon herself, yet the absence of evidence suggesting another's presence cast an enigmatic veil over the situation. The coroner revealed that Lavinia had likely been killed a day prior to the discovery of her body. An inquiry was convened by the Manchester City coroner to unravel the enigma surrounding Lavinia's death. Dr. Yates noted that Lavinia had been suffering from bronchitis and eczema, yet these ailments offered no illumination regarding the cause of her passing. However, upon closer examination, a wound, merely 1/4 of an inch in length, was discovered near her heart. This delicate incision inflicted by the corn knife had penetrated deeply enough to seal her fate. Dr. Heslop, who conducted the post-mortem examination, confirmed that this wound was indeed the cause of her demise. Yet uncertainty loomed. Did Lavinia fall upon her own blade, or was there another hand at play? The inquest dragged on for hours, days even. The weight of uncertainty bore heavily on all present. The jurors, faced with medical evidence that seemed to contradict itself, could only reach one conclusion: an open verdict. There was no one to blame. Lavinia's attire added yet another layer of mystery. She wore 3 tightly woven garments, each meticulously stitched at the neck, creating an almost impenetrable barrier. Remarkably, the stab wound had not breached any fabric, suggesting that the blade must have slipped beneath them, a feat bordering on the impossible. The wound was a clean, purposeful stab from left to right, so precise that it hinted at an unseen hand at work. But who could it be? And how did this unfold? This brings us to Charles Fort, a celebrated chronicler of the extraordinary. Fort included Lavinia's tale in his masterwork, Wild Talents. Fascinated by phenomena that danced just beyond the grasp of reason, Fort viewed such cases as whispers of mysterious forces lurking in the shadows of our understanding. But what enigmatic force drew Fort's attention to an unresolved stabbing in a quiet Manchester neighborhood? Perhaps it was not merely the details of her untimely end, but the elusive mysteries that piqued his curiosity. Yet a deeper question emerges. Did Lavinia Farrar actually exist? I found a reference to her story in the Weekly Dispatch, published in London on March 17th, 1901, and a similar account in the Evening Telegraph weeks later. Both articles, written 8 years after her supposed death, detailed the mystery but omitted crucial information. Despite appearing in these newspapers, thorough searches of the Lancashire BMD and the General Register Office databases revealed an eerie silence. No death certificate, no coroner's report, nor any local newspaper accounts from 1893. The deeper I searched, the more frustrating the quest became. Lancashire BMD, a repository of countless life records from birth to death, yielded no mention of Lavinia Farrar. It was as if she had slipped through the cracks of history, leaving not a single official trace. General Register Office, another bastion of documentation too, had nothing to offer. No death certificate meant that her demise had not been officially recorded, a truly bizarre anomaly given the supposed gravity of her death. They detailed her death as if it had only recently been uncovered. Why would two newspapers pick up a seemingly forgotten local murder after so long? And why did they fail to mention key details, particularly the supposed coroner's findings? It was as if the true narrative had already been lost or altered even by the time it reached print. The complete absence of original contemporaneous reporting became the crux of the problem. Coroner's report became nearly impossible to confirm whether Lavinia Farrar was indeed a real person whose life ended under tragic circumstances, or if she was simply a creation, an urban myth born from whisper sensationalism, and perhaps even the creative hand of someone like Charles Fort. I also found no reports of UFO activity in that area during that time. Closest sighting was in 1895 in Oxford, England. The census did reveal a Lavinia Farrar resided in Plymouth Grove, but her age did not align with the reports. Could this be the same person or merely a coincidence? This void of documentation ignited a spark of inquiry. Was Lavinia a tangible person, figment of imagination crafted into folklore over the years? Might Charles Fort have embellished or even invented her tale to illustrate his musings on the unexplained? This journey has illuminated a deeper truth. Stories like Lavinia's endure not because of their verifiable facts, but because of the fascination they evoke. They linger in collective memory as reminders of the many mysteries we have yet to solve, puzzles without pieces, forever incomplete. In the end, the enigma of Lavinia Farrar transcends a mere death from 1893. It weaves a rich tapestry of the narratives we cherish and the mysteries we hold dear. Whether Lavinia truly walked among us or exists solely as a figment of folklore, her story beckons us to ponder the delicate line that separates history from myth. Some enigmas linger in the shadows, not for lack of explanation, but because they reside in the enchanting realm between fact and fiction, a mystical domain that stirs our imagination and fuels our quest for understanding. So, was Lavinia Farrar a casualty of an unfathomable enigma, or merely a specter conjured from the ink of a story? A riddle that perhaps was never destined to find resolution.